I've got a great visit in here with Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. Good morning, sir. How are you doing? Good to see you. And we got a couple things to talk about here. First things first, March 30, just a couple days from now, celebrating the careers of Under Sheriff Jim Barrett and Chief Deputy Russ Osterhaus. So what is going on here?
Uh, Jim and Russ have decided to call it a career, as you read a couple months ago, due to our cutbacks. Jim and Russ decided to accept layoffs. I laid them off in order to save some other positions. By doing that, we laid Russ and Jim off early and then moved our two lieutenants up, and we've not refilled the lieutenants' positions. That saved positions of our road deputies in our office, so that would give us our 20% of our cuts in our administrative division.
Okay. So it's going to be at the Colonial House at 1.
Yeah. It's really going to be interesting. We're going to be interesting for the future and interesting for now. Jim and I went to college together many, many years ago, and I ran into him on a traffic situation in Thurston County in a vehicle pursuit many, many years after we were in college together. Didn't even know he was over here working as a deputy when I was next door. We met on that pursuit incident, and we got to talking and kind of stayed in touch. And a number of years later, I asked Jim to be under sheriff, which was really neat.
How long has he been your under sheriff then?
This would have been our 12th year together.
Oh my gosh.
One of the longest runs.
What does an under sheriff do in the sheriff's office structure?
You know, it's really interesting that you asked that. I've got a great answer. Everything. If you ask almost any sheriff in the state, will tell you that the undersheriff is really the key person in the agency of planning things within the office. And undersheriffs are really key. Undersheriffs truly actually run most of your day-to-day operations in your office because each of your chiefs report to them. And anytime that I'm gone or not at one meeting, Jim goes to that meeting, and the undersheriff has full discretion to make the same decisions I do. And that's a very important thing. When I decided to run, I talked to my sheriff. It's probably one of the greatest sheriff that ever lived over there. In Thurston County, and now he's a county commissioner, Sheriff Edwards. He told me, he says, the only mistake you can't make is you're an undersheriff. You got to have a great undersheriff. And I was very fortunate to have Jim for all these years. And then as we progressed, one of the things that we decided 4 years ago, our first 4 years, was in the time that we were here, we wanted to make a successionary plan so that people are being trained to move into those positions, not just stepping in without experience. And now we've got Travis Adams stepping into that role. He's going to do a great job for us.
I just learned something new. I did not know about that. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever heard that.
What's that?
Undersheriff.
The phrase under sheriff.
Yeah, the phrase undersheriff. That's cool.
Oh man, I tell you,
Yeah.
undersheriffs that's every sheriff in the state has an undersheriff, and they're very important people. And
Wow,
Chief
that's
Osterhout
awesome.
that's on there.
Yeah, talk to me about his background. What are some of the things?
Russ came to Thurston County when I was a sergeant over there as a brand new individual to the sheriff's office, and little did anybody know he was a commander in the Green Beret Special Forces.
Wow.
Nice.
Russ has a background that most people, well, I guess they do now, don't know about. Is a language specialist in Special Forces, and just tremendous leadership and troop leadership. He's been all over the world. Russ came there as a deputy at the end of it after he retired, and when I got ready to run for sheriff, I asked Russ if he would move from a deputy sheriff's position all the way to chief criminal deputy. And what a wonderful command experience this guy has, and we were lucky to have Russ his master's degree in leadership, and then as well as leading troops for our Special Forces Division for the United States. And what a great guy. So we're going to miss Russ and Jim greatly.
We're also talking about a meeting that you've had with the regional sheriffs around the area. That would include Thurston and Lewis. Talk to me about the sheriffs you've met with and what you guys are all talking about.
Well, we started about 11 years ago. When I got elected, it just happened to be that a bunch of us ended up being really good friends. And now most all those sheriffs have retired, and new sheriffs have come in. But I knew John Snaza at Thurston County. I was a lieutenant when John was a deputy over there, so I had John work for me as a sergeant, as a lieutenant. Now he's sheriff. His brother Robert is Lewis County Sheriff. Rick Scott at Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office. We go clear out to the coastal sheriff, Scott Johnson, and Wahkiakum County Sheriff as well. So we decided a number of years ago, we had this, before those guys even came on, I started meeting with the other sheriffs. We have kind of a centralized location that we meet just in our region, what we call, it's the Homeland Security region, it's called Region 3. We just kind of came up with that along with Gary Simpson of Kitsap County. Anyway, we just started meeting because all the things that happen to us, it all is interwoven. It all crosses the county line. It's nothing individual. And so usually the issues that we have are the same issues across those counties. So we meet quite often. Last week we just happened to be in the same place at the same time for a different event, and began talking about all the circumstances again. And one of those, I think you're going to start hearing this again. About 10 years ago, the sheriffs got together and started talking about regional jails just because of the costs. And we were discussing that again. I think that might come to the forefront. I don't know if that'll ever materialize, but I bet you'll start seeing talks across the state again about regionalization of jails because they're very expensive. The challenges that came up for us is that our people were paid so much less than the others that if you put in a regional jail, it would be Mason County's obligation to pay our people the same as the other counties if you regionalize
the
it.
Nisqually jail? Is that's not a regional?
No, that's owned by the tribe.
Oh, okay.
And so they open that to, I think, almost anyone that wants to rent or lease space from them. But that's a tribal jail.
Sure. Okay.
So anyway, it's just been nice to run into all those guys this last week, and we just get together in our region and talk about those things. And then we have state sheriffs meetings that we all meet in Ellensburg. We were just over there. All 39 sheriffs meet in Ellensburg a number of times a year, so that all of us are there talking about different issues.
Very neat. Very cool. Well, the other thing, another reminder that this week, and the public is welcome to come. And do we need to call ahead or just stop by?
You're welcome. You're most welcome to stop by. We've been in your office enough.
Of Under Sheriff Jim Barrett and Chief Deputy Russ Osterhout. That is upcoming lawless service here for the folks in the Mason County community. 1 o'clock on the 30th at the Colonial House. Well, Sheriff, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.